Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. The big audio visualization things are angry and red, so it's recording.
Okay, so the only thing that could be causing this is a stream key change. Oh, wait. Or I just press reload and it works.
Yeah. I blame Mark Zuckerberg.
Yeah, we could blame him for a lot. Him trying to be a bro out of nowhere for no reason. Mm-hmm. That stupid fucking perm.
Or just bending the knee.
Yeah. Kissing the ring, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Piece of shit. It's funny, we have people who follow us, who watch the streams. Nope, not that. And they, there's a guy that watches us on Facebook, but ends up moving over to Twitch.
Okay.
Because Facebook live streaming is, like this app right now, is really awful.
Yeah.
It's a good thing we came down here early. Okay. Well, let's go.
Okay.
Welcome back to Jedi Enclave. I am Daniel.
I'm Chris.
And we are the hosts of the Jedi Enclave Presents. Now, this is Podcasting Podcast, the award-winning podcast about Star Wars adjacent things, nerdom, fandom, and things that we enjoy. When I say award-winning, that is greatly exaggerated.
I was going to say, what awards have we won? Well, we can't tell you about them.
Yeah, they're secret.
Yeah.
Can't.
Mm-hmm.
It's classified.
Yep.
We've won none of them.
It's on a need-to-know basis.
Do they give awards out for podcasts?
Probably.
Yeah, we probably won't get one.
Nah, I wouldn't think so.
We're barely a podcast. So yeah, this is our thing. And this week, what are we doing this week? We're talking about some
Star Wars news.
We've got a little bit of Star Wars news.
A little bit of that. We're talking about Severance.
Severance Season 2, Episode 3, which I think, and we'll talk about it a little bit when we get there. We'll talk about it a lot. I was already obsessed with this show, but like it's just getting worse.
Yeah.
And I really must be the demographic that they're like there's this one specific kind of person that's who this show is for.
Let's just shotgun a billion mysteries at them,
and I'm like trying to like catch all of them.
Yeah.
Like, no, where are they going?
What does it mean?
Yeah, they folded in some. Yeah, it is now very clear that the creators of this show are in love with Lost, because they folded in a very famous Lost mystery as just a Easter egg. Yeah. And it's really funny. I'll tell you about it when we get there. But I think the third episode of the season so far, probably the most thrilling episode they've had so far. And there've been good episodes, but like this one at the end, I was like, yes.
Watching this show gives me anxiety.
I know.
Like, part of it is just how many mysteries there are and how little we know, but also the way everything is
watching?
Shot.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
There's all these close-ups that linger for like way too long.
Oh, I know. There's one in particular, right? And this one you're talking about, I know. It's in my notes. I'm like, oh, why? Why do you do it like that?
Also going to talk about Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man?
Yes, which I hadn't watched. I watched the first episode last night and then the second episode today. Mm-hmm. And I went into it with a chip on my shoulder because my friend Monty was like, oh, I hate the animation. And I watched it and I was like, I kind of dig it.
I kind of like it.
I think it's actually kind of
like,
cool.
It has its own style, which I can accept may not be for everyone, but I think it looks pretty good.
You know what it looks? It looks like those original Spider-Man comics. Yeah. Those like Archie-esque, really colorful comics from like, I don't know, the 1840s or whenever the fuck.
Like 3-tone dots that they printed to create colors.
I think it looks kind of like that. And I think it's kind of cool. I find Peter Parker a lot of fun. Like I think it's a cool version of Peter Parker.
I mean, he's Peter Parker. He's always going to be the goofball
Right.
nerd with way too much responsibility.
And it's nice that he's like we see a Peter Parker who is a freshman in high school, and not a Peter Parker who is a 35-year-old man, Tobey Maguire, as a high schooler, and whose friends at school are 35-year-old adults. So like that's pretty cool. I ended up enjoying it quite a bit actually. And then I think after this, we're playing some video games in a new format that we have not done ever.
Yeah.
And hopefully it all works out, and I think it will. I have faith that it will. I thought through everything. You are going to look ridiculous.
Okay. I'm fine with that.
You're going to be facing a different direction, though, so no
Awesome.
one will know. You have to wear 2 pairs of headphones.
Okay.
The ones you're wearing now, but also the headset, which only has one ear thing. It only has the right.
Yeah.
So you'll put that on first, and then you'll put these on over it, and then you'll have like a little thing. But I think it's going to work out.
This is going to be
Yes,
fantastic.
it'll be great. So check that out. That'll be at 7. Maybe even a little earlier, depending on how we probably won't get done early. We never do.
No.
While you're here, if you could please give us a follow on Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitch, Discord. All those things are places we are at. We would love to see you there.
Blue Sky?
Blue Sky also. Oh shit! I'm not gonna do it right now because it'll just derail this, and we're probably gonna go on too long anyway.
News?
Yeah, let's do some news.
Okay.
First, are we just going straight down
I think we should just go straight
Okay.
down.
All right,
So,
you want to do this one?
The Acolyte, which is a show that happened,
I'm kidding.
which
I'm not
was
one of those.
divisive, let's say.
Controversial.
Was the second most watched show on Disney Plus in 2024.
Which
on the one hand, it's Star Wars. It has a mystery in it. I can kind of see how people would want to watch it. On the other hand, it kind of plays against the narrative of the worst people in the world who insist, oh, go woke, go broke. Too many black people in my show.
There are a couple of angles. So first of all, it's one of those things where when you say it, it sounds very impressive, but I wonder if it actually is.
Well, Disney Plus and
Because you know what the first
had a kind of a down year.
All streaming across streaming services period had down years. Did you see what the first spot was? The one like most watched?
I don't remember.
It was Percy Jackson, which I didn't think is particularly a great show. So and like the thing is too, like based on the metrics that they've released or that we've kind of gleaned, it looks like Acolyte had a really strong 2-episode run, but after the second episode, interest kind of dropped off, and I think that's where the problem ended up becoming. And the fact that the budget for that show was a little insane. Yeah. And part of it I understand why, because everything was shot on location.
They had some pretty big name actors.
Some of them they killed almost immediately, or one of them in particular they killed in the first episode. But she was still in the show throughout, and Lee Jong-jae was hot coming off of Squid Game, so like he was a really big name as well. Fucking Tommen, poor little baby Tommen,
who had a really weird beard.
I know it was fake. It was I'm not sure that actor can grow facial hair because he's like a 30-something-year-old man now, but he still looks like a little baby. It's like a little baby head. It's like he hasn't really grown up since he was in Game of Thrones. He just looks like the same British teenager. But anyway, who knows what's happened with it and whatever. I don't think it really matters that much because we've talked about it on this channel a whole bunch. Not our favorite Star Wars live action show.
It was fine.
It wasn't at the bottom of the list either. I think that its biggest crime was it was like you have this like brand new format for Star Wars, this like murder mystery thing, and the result was I was entertained by it. There was some cool shit in it, but it's like at the end of the day, it's like, okay. And I wanted it to be, oh my God, look at this fucking show, like Andor or something. And it just wasn't that.
Or just like Severance, where the mystery, like you have to actually put some work in. That's a good point. They're different kind. But I'm granting they're different kinds of shows.
But they're different kind of mysteries.
Yeah. Like
Severance, I feel like they really planned out where all the threads are going and everything, and I think they have a really good grasp on. It's not so like in Lost, that show is known for its mysteries, right? But the thing is that by the third season, the writers were just making it up as they went along, and it started to like, and then they started a time travel thing, and then nothing made sense.
Because nothing ever makes sense when you involve time travel.
Right, yeah, and then there was like there was a famous writer's strike during the production of that show as well, so. But, I don't know, people are going to bitch about it. I'm sure there are people in the comments right now who are like, oh, Acolyte.
Oh, Acolyte, fucking suck, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, fuck you. This will titillate the Snyder Cut bros, though.
Oh, it will, for sure.
There is a rumor. Recent reports suggest that Henry Cavill is in discussions with Lucasfilm to portray a villain in an upcoming Star Wars project.
Okay, I'm down for it.
I think he could do a good villain.
Yeah, definitely.
He did a villain in Mission Impossible.
Okay, yeah.
You might remember there was the entire mustache gate with
oh yeah, because he had to come back and
do Batman and the Justice League or whatever.
Do some reshoots,
and
after
they did the CGI.
And they CGI'd his face. And
it was terrible.
Yeah.
The reason is because he was shooting Mission Impossible, and his character in that movie has a mustache, and it was basically just a dick measuring contest between the heads of whoever is in charge of Mission Impossible and DC, because they're not owned by the same company, and they're like, no, he's not shaving it. I don't care. It doesn't matter. It'll take him 4 days to grow it back. He's not shaving it.
Yeah.
We're not doing it for you. And they're like, well, fuck you. We'll CG it out. And they're like, well, good luck with that.
All right,
it's a nice fucking mustache.
Yeah.
And the one memory I have of that movie, because Mission Impossible, like the newer Mission Impossible movies are pretty neat, but they're not, I don't know. The one funny memory I have of that movie, the one thing I remember above all the other things, other than that, like, majestic mustache, is that in a bathroom fight scene, Henry Cavill locks and loads his fists. But before, like, he goes to fight, and it's like, and like he does that, and then starts fighting, and it's actually really funny.
I guess my other thought on this is that Henry Cavill is a well-known mega nerd. He did The Witcher mostly because he wanted to do The Witcher.
To do it, sure.
I believe he actually paints like Warhammer miniature models.
Which is good for him.
Yeah, good for like everyone needs a hobby. I'm not making fun of him for it. I'm saying he is a huge nerd.
Also, I can't make fun of something like that when I literally like sit and paint ships and stuff.
Yeah, looking for your Viper.
I built that one right there, and I built the shuttle Titanium behind me, and the Viper's not. I think that got banished by John because it's not Star Wars, but it's in the back room.
Okay.
Yeah, or like any of the shit I have over here that I've painted.
Yeah.
But anyway,
I would absolutely trust him to approach Star Wars as, holy shit, this is Star Wars. This is so
big
cool.
deal. Yeah.
Rather than just being, oh, this is another gig.
Right. Yeah. I think it'd be cool. The similar effect that we spoke about last week when we were talking about Ryan Gosling is that Henry Cavill at this point has kind of become a household name, and seeing him in Star Wars might be a little bit universe breaking because he is a very handsome man, famously handsome man.
I can see some casual people going to the theater and saying, hey, why is Superman a bad man, a bad guy in Star Wars?
I would like to see him because he's a bad guy, like I said, Mission Impossible. Spoilers? But yeah, and he does a good job with it. So I think he could do that. Like, I don't feel like Henry Cavill would be a mustache twirling, like stupid bad guy. I think he'd be really subtle, and his performance would be really neat. So William Roget the second,
probably Roget, I'd say,
who is known for his work on Star Wars: The Old Republic, Vader Immortal, Helldivers 2.
He's a composer, we should say.
Music composer, right? Wrote the score for Star Wars Outlaws, which is a banger score. It's really good. He's been nominated for a Grammy for Best Score Soundtrack for Video Games and Other Interactive Media.
It's good for him.
Yeah, he's a great composer. I'm a little pissed that Gordy Hobb wasn't the one that did it, but I'm over it, I guess. And the score is cool. It is different, and there are pieces of it that are decidedly Helldivers. Like, you listen to it and you're like, oh, so first of all, I'm having trouble not like banging my head to this, but also this is from Helldivers.
It just makes you feel democratic.
Yeah, a little bit of liberty. Yeah. So congrats to him. And I just remembered, I guess another thing this isn't on the rundown. I just read about this before we went live, actually, that Carrie Fisher's dog, Gary Fisher, died today. which is really sad. Wilbert Roger, if you're watching this, I'm really sorry we're ruining your Grammy announcement with this. But you
In
might,
fairness, we're not actually announcing it.
yeah, and you'll never watch this, so it
Yeah.
doesn't matter. Yeah. You might remember that Carrie Fisher, every interview that she did, she had her little pug.
Yeah.
Whose stupid tongue was hanging out all the time. One of the most adorable dogs, adorable / that's not light, ugly dogs. Yeah. I guess from his Gary had an official Instagram, and this is from his Instagram. I think after she died, her daughter, what's her name? Billy Lord, took him and was taking care of him. So, Godspeed. You were a good boy. You want to talk to us about Star Wars Path of the Lightsaber?
Sure. So,
or do you want me to do it?
I can talk about it. So, I don't read a bunch of manga because it's just not my thing. But I might be looking up this Star Wars Path of the Lightsaber, which is a new manga by written by Kenny Ruiz, produced by Viz Media, I guess.
All right.
And it's coming out sometime this year, probably. There's no definite release date.
Yeah, I don't think we know exactly when it's coming out, yeah.
But it's about a kid living in post Last Jedi, finds a lightsaber, goes on wacky hijinks.
You mentioned The Last Jedi. Chris, what are we going to do?
You know what? At this point, if you want to fight about Last Jedi, that's fine. You can come over here and suck my left nut.
You can't sexually harass our fans.
I wasn't talking
Chris,
to our,
you can't do this again.
Our fans
I told you.
aren't the type of people who would want to fight over The Last Jedi.
I don't know how many times I've told you cannot sexually harass our fans.
Anyway.
But no, fuck you, seriously.
It's coming out sometime this year. It looks kind of cool. The bits of art that they showed to promote it look neat.
You know, manga in Star Wars this isn't the first time that those two things have met. In fact, I think I might have on my bookshelf. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
This is the
Legends of Luke Skywalker.
I don't know if you can see that. The Legends of Luke Skywalker, which is a black and white manga-ish thing.
Yeah.
And these stories are really cool. A little dust on that. And I love me some Luke Skywalker, which is why I bought it.
And they're just in-universe, heavily embellished stories
well,
of the time Luke Skywalker came to town and blew up everything or whatever.
The whole hook is that they are stories. They're like third or fourth hand, right? And every time it's retold, his legend just gets spun more and more out of control. And he's done these like fantastical things and everything, but like they're like some which of the ones are like there are little nuggets of truth in all of them, and you're like, oh, I bet that one actually happened though, because that's like something that we know about that that actually happened.
Also, sort of related to this is Star Wars Visions, which had a lot of Japanese anime studios, which similar-ish art style.
Yeah. So they're doing season 3 of that, right?
I believe they are. Yeah.
I wonder if that happens this year.
Maybe.
Because I've enjoyed both of those seasons. I think they've been
they're
great.
a ton of fun. There's some episodes that I'm like, I wish this was getting a full series because it's just
like the one episode. Do you mean like a single episode? Yeah.
Yeah.
There were episodes that I didn't like as much as the other ones, but I don't think there are any of them where I was like, this is stupid. I think I enjoyed all of them, even like goofy, absurd ones.
Like the one by the Wallace and Gromit people.
I thought that was great.
I thought it was.
You know which one I thought was really goofy was the brother and sister from season 1. Like that weird.
That's just over the top enough to be awesome.
Yeah. Ian says the Amazing Spider-Man was great. Loved the animation style. It was just like watching a comic, especially with the transitions and split screens. Yeah.
Do you want to just go there?
I wanted to
Or do you want to do Severance first?
Yeah, just in case we run out of time.
We'll do Severance.
Omar does YouTube says yo.
Yeah.
And then Hadja says hello there.
Hello there.
General Kenobi. Or hello, that I don't care. Whichever one you want.
Anyway.
So we had to veer away from Star Wars for a little bit, which is fine. We were going to do a Star Wars story time this week, but it didn't work out with the other shit we had to talk about. And I'm almost positive I can put one on next week. So this is one of those things where we're probably going to be doing whatever important Star Wars news there is in the week, and a Star Wars story time until something significant in Star Wars happens, because like we just coming off the back of Skeleton Crew, there isn't a lot happening. But Andor is coming up, and when that shit happens, we are going to be balls deep.
We are clearing the decks for that.
Because like we were into Skeleton Crew, and that was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I've had a higher expectation for a Star Wars show than I have for Andor Season 2. And I think they're going to deliver, and I think it's going to be off the fucking hook, and I cannot wait for it. So we're going to get into a little show we've been watching called Severance, which, by the way, if you're here and you're a Star Wars fan, you should trust our judgment on what good media is, okay? Because I wouldn't lead you astray. I really would not do that.
We do not get our kicks off of wasting your time.
Yes. And Severance is one of those shows where I feel like you could be into a lot of different things and watch that show and be like, damn, what a good show.
It does the Andor thing where it can just be two characters sitting in a room talking to each other.
Yeah.
And it is absolutely thrilling.
Yeah.
Like, edge of your seat. Oh God, what's going to happen next?
Right.
And it's just two people talking.
Yes, it is fantastic. And this show's going to get a lot of praise from me, because I think I mentioned last week one of the biggest fears was that I loved season 1 so much, and I loved the finale of season 1 so much that I was worried that season 2 wasn't going to measure up.
Possibly stick the landing. Right?
So far, it absolutely is, and it just grows more absurd, but at the same time more compelling and deeply emotional. Like there are some themes in this episode alone about, and I'll be more specific when we get to this point, where you can see yourself in a similar situation and think about what you would do. Mm-hmm. And it's just, I love shows that get me to think like that, and get my cold heart to feel something. And it's like, oh my God, this is one of those shows. So this is Severance season 2, episode 3, Who is Alive? So this is spoilers for Severance, by the way. If you've not seen this episode, go watch it and come back and tell us what you thought. If you've not watched the show at all, go and check out season 1, because it's absolutely fantastic. Such a good show. So I'm going to go through. I took some general notes on the timeline. We're not going to go like scene for scene necessarily, but jump in when you have a thought.
Sure.
But one of the things that this show does so well are its unique shots. They get really inventive with the cinematography in different ways from scene to scene, and it makes it engaging. It's I think we might have mentioned this, we were talking about it during one of the gaming streams, about how like the season finale for season 1, the camera never stops moving. Like we rewatched it the week before the show came out. Mm-hmm. It is constantly moving through the scene or around a character, and there are as many one shots in that episode as they could cram into them. So like I don't think there's a single shot in that episode where it's just the camera on someone. It's either pushing in or moving through a hallway, or it's like rotating around, and the effect is this.
It's very unsettling.
Yeah, because you're used to things settling for a beat. Mm-hmm. And you can breathe
just
out.
Being able to examine and see what's going on, right. And you don't get that.
Yeah. Now, like this episode doesn't quite do that, but the shots that they compose are really neat. And the opening shot with Cobell in her car. Mm-hmm. In the middle of fucking nowhere and all the snow and shit. They
sometimes, one of the things this show does really well, they do these really like pulled back, almost artistic shots.
Like wide.
You could just frame it and put it on your wall and be like, wow, that's a really cool picture.
Like a Kier painting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which, oh my God. Oh man. So she's like, it's a metaphorical crossroads, right? She's sitting on the end of the edge of the road. She's trying to figure out, is she going to go forward or is she going to go back to Lumen? And she has in her car, on the passenger seat, like the breathing tube that belonged to her mother, mm-hmm. that we see in the first season when she destroys her little Kier shrine. Yeah. Which, one of the many mysteries of the show is, what is Cobell's like? What is she like? What's driving her to do what she does? And is she like, is she fighting for Lumen's like best interest, or is it something else? Because now I'm feeling it might be just something else.
Yeah.
And I'm interested to know what is in Cobell's past that has gotten her to where she is, where she's like, who knows what threads she's trying to play, right? So she's sitting there trying to figure out, am I done? Am I putting Lumen in the literal fucking rearview mirror, or am I going to turn around and
and
go
doing
back?
all this sitting in her like early 80s hatchback?
Yeah, and that's there's a part of the show that is kind of timeless, and I think we mentioned this the last time.
because like they have modern technology like smartphones and shit.
Yeah.
Then if you go down on the severed floor, they have like these old Apple looking computers.
Yeah.
And like every single car in this show is like
From the
late
70s, yeah.
early 80s.
Yeah, it is
like
very
real
bizarre.
boxy
Yeah.
thing.
We have no idea where this is, if it's in the United States, because
I get the feeling it's like Pacific Northwest-ish, but
Well-
that could be totally wrong.
so they filmed it in New England.
Okay.
And there's a piece of mail in the first season that the city they're in is Kier, PE, which is not
a state abbreviation.
Yeah, it doesn't belong to the United States anywhere. It's very, and I'm pretty sure they did this on purpose to make it, so they can make it whatever they needed it to be. So Mark is trying to do this weird thing that we don't understand at first.
Yeah.
Where he's got his stopwatch and he's like trying to time something, and he jumps out of his car.
Runs into
work
and times how long it takes before he passes out and is severed.
Yeah, like it's on the elevator and shit. Someone pointed out on the internet that the number, so they all have their lockers before they go down to work.
Mm-hmm.
They all have numbers on them.
Yeah.
And the numbers of the people we've seen so far correspond with the numbers from Lost. The famous numbers from Lost.
Of course.
And this is almost certainly not important to the narrative. This is
just another example of the long shadow that Lost casts on an entire generation of TV producers and writers.
Particularly, I think this writer, who I would imagine was a huge Lost fan, and I think is because there's a lot of this is just a love letter to Lost. Mm-hmm. Though I feel like that's kind of what Apple Originals thing is, because we've been watching Silo, which, by the way, is a show everyone should watch too. Is I think almost as good as Severance, where it has a lot of the same weird mystery elements and stuff to it. So you don't know what he's doing, but he gets down to work, and his AnyMark has printed off missing flyers for Miss Casey.
Yeah, these sketches of Miss Casey.
So they're going to distribute them.
Well, they're going to carry them around,
right? But they're not going to hang
people,
them,
but not hang them up anywhere because they don't want the management to know what they're doing.
Which feels a little naive to me, because it's like, Mark, they're watching right now, right?
They said they weren't.
Yes.
They said they took all the cameras and microphones out.
Yes. But come on. And I think even Irving was like, guys, come on. They're clearly watching. I got the subtext that there are, there are
things are different, but they're not different.
Right. So Helly and Mark are going to go off to try to find the goat room.
Yep, the goat room.
Irving is going to go to Owen.
Which, by the way, that's just an utterly insane thing for an office building to have a goat room.
Yeah, wait till we fucking get there.
Yeah.
Because it only gets weirder.
Yeah.
Irving's going to go to O&E or O&D.
Where his boyfriend.
Where Bert was, yeah. And then Dylan's
supposed to go out and do this, but he's actually like, you know what? I'm in the fucking zone here.
Yeah.
I'm just going to keep clicking on the scary numbers.
Yes.
Y'all can go do whatever you want.
I think it's an interesting thing that, Dylan's thought was, okay, so, they're going to try to manipulate me with perks, because it's, that's his thing. He likes his perks.
Yeah.
And so he was, ready for it. And then they offered him a perk that he's incapable of turning down. And that's why he's not joining them on this thing, and he's staying there to do his job. And it's a little disappointing, like in a narrative, it isn't disappointing writing. It's you feel a sense of disappointment
in him
because you're like, come on, dude, Like, you were the hero last season.
Your fucking friends are relying on you to do this, and you're sitting here just clicking on numbers.
Yeah. So, okay, this is where I got to talk about my thoughts on Helly.
Okay.
Because I'm pretty sure this is Helena.
After we did the show last week, I went home and read some things, and I think it's Helena too.
She's kind of weird. There's something off about her.
Somebody pointed out that, like, at the end of, I think it's episode 2, wherever, when they all go back to work and they're all flipping the switches and then booting up their computers, like, Helly has to, like, fumble around to figure out how to turn it on.
No.
And everyone else just muscle memory boots it up.
Right, because they know right where it is.
She has to, like, be sure, is this the
No. Okay, if that's true, and I have not heard this, and I'm not doubting that you would lie to me, obviously. That is compelling. That is really compelling evidence to me that she's not, To be fair, I guess Helly didn't work down there for very long before they did their escape break. And they did a lot of fucking around, walking around the hallways and shit. But at the same time, you would think that she would have figured it out.
Yeah. And
because if it's a fumbling around, like, she's never once turned it on by herself, like, that's pretty compelling to me.
Yeah.
So this is Mark's plan. They're going to find Miss Casey somehow with the flyers. They're going to get her to the stairwell door past where you switch into Audi mode.
Yep.
And then he's like, my Audi will know what to do.
Yeah.
And I like how Helly's like, okay. So I don't think that's going to work, but okay. Yeah. And
then they have this moment where they're just kind of staring at each other, like, because Mark's like, "You're really gonna help with this?" And Helly's like, "Yeah, I guess." And he's like, "Oh, that's really cool." And they're just standing there, smiling at each other. And it's like, I just want to mash their heads together. Go ahead,
it's kiss. Like, kiss, please kiss. And then there's a really weird shot from around the corner where it looks like someone might be watching them, which is also really weird. And I like the thing that makes it, like, based on Helena's from House of the Dragon. Yeah. Helena, I think. Helly, whatever the fuck. Lumen Lady. When she's watching the security footage of her, Innie, and Mark kissing, there's something in her. She's like, "Ooh,
he's actually kind of hot.
I might ride that dick if I get the chance." And, like, you can. I wonder maybe if part of what she's doing down there is just to be like, I wonder if I feel anything, for anyone ever. Yeah. There's a weird scene of, like, Milchek finds Mark's welcome back balloons,
and he's really pissed.
But he really hates them. Yeah. He's like, fuck off.
Then he gets back to his office and the board is there.
Yeah.
By which we mean that the board's little speaker is set up.
Yeah. It doesn't really matter that we do these out of order. But I saw a theory about Miss Wong being Miss Casey and Mark's daughter.
That was actually my first thought as well, but I don't know that the timeline necessarily matches up.
Well, no, because his wife had only been dead for a couple of years. So if they had a kid, she would have to be significantly younger.
Unless there's some, like, Lumen super science age you up quick technology going on here.
Like the Kaminoans and the clones.
Yeah.
Like accelerated growth. Yeah. Actually, that's a really good point. That actually probably isn't the case. So Irving reveals to Dylan that he has been able to recreate the painting that his Audi did a billion times. Yeah. And he's got his little sketchbook, which is mostly Bert. It's just mostly the same picture of Bert he's drawn over and over again.
Is adorable.
It is absolutely fucking adorable. But still, it's interesting that some of those trained skills, especially when you're an artist who's like honed that. Like, I wonder if we were severed and we went down to the severed floor and someone hands you a cello or hands me a saxophone, if we're just able to play it
and be like, huh,
and not know why.
Weird. I wonder why I could do that.
Right. I think it's interesting that or like the fact that when Irving was out in the real world, his Innie was out in the real world, he just knew how to drive his car.
I would imagine, like, I don't think the show's ever gone into the exact mechanics
like
of
the
how
science.
Severance
Though they get pretty
works.
sciencey in this
one.
They
do, but I would imagine certain, like, trained physical instincts and muscle memory would transfer.
They're just kind of under the surface anyway.
So if, like, someone just handed a saxophone to any Daniel, I imagine you would at least figure out where your hands
Kenny
go.
G. Doo-ba-doo. Yeah,
Like you'd be able to do your scales at least.
probably. Yeah, I bet probably. Oh God. So one thing I'd be able to do. So yeah, Natalie meets with Milchick with the board, and there is nothing about this scene that is normal or feels good.
It makes me so anxious watching.
Natalie, and I have in my notes in all caps, Natalie is so fucking weird.
Yeah.
And I don't know what I don't think she blinks. I don't think she ever blinks. So anyway, she's there with the board. And she's like, well, congrats. We have a gift for you.
The board congratulates you.
Yeah.
We would like to make it a little easier for you to see Kier's work through yourself. So here is a set of newly recanonized paintings of Kier that look like you.
It's Kier in blackface.
Yeah.
It's the best way to.
Yeah,
it's
pretty
so
much.
bizarre. And Milchick, that actor, is so hard to read that you can't tell if he is like, oh my gosh, or if he's like, ooh,
This is really weird.
yeah. Because I think a little bit of this breaks through. He's like, what the fuck am I looking at?
Yeah.
And what's really weird is that there is a shot of Natalie while he's walking over to undo the box and look at it, where she stares at him unblinkingly the entire time.
She walks 180 degrees around him, staring
and
at
the
him
camera sits
entire
right on her.
time.
Yeah, it is so bizarre. So anyway, these paintings are weird. It's very bizarre.
I mean, every painting of Kier is weird.
Right.
But these are a little bit weirder than average.
Another layer of weird to this is apparently Natalie got the same gift at some point. So did they make Kier a chick?
I guess.
Does that mean canonically Natalie Kier is a lesbian? Because there's like that one of him and the woman he falls in love with.
Maybe they repainted that woman to be a man. I don't know.
It is really weird.
Everything about Lumen and its relationship with Kier is weird.
There is also this really weird moment because it would appear like every interaction the board has with someone is just a mindfuck.
Yeah.
Because they never speak first.
Yes,
right?
it's always done through the intermediary.
Right, and they never initiate the conversation, and they always terminate the interaction in mid sentence when someone else is in mid sentence. So like I think Milchick was like in the middle of something. She's like, the board's concluded the call, and it's like you don't have to do that, but you did because you guys are just dicking around with people. I think. I like the lead fan theory that the board are just the goats. That's who we saw in this episode. That's the board.
So Natalie's just making shit up,
or they're literal goats that.
No. Because like, how would the goats be able to talk? How would they be able to give Natalie instructions?
Exactly. That's the weirdest part, is that they would be able to. Or she, I don't know. Maybe she
speaks goat.
I don't know. Or maybe the whole thing is very strange. So Mark and Helly go back to the goat room.
Yes.
Because they that's the other thing too. Oh my gosh. I just realized this in conjunction with what you said about her turning on the computer. They get to the door and Helly asks, is this it? Because I'm pretty sure she doesn't know where the fuck she's going. So they go back to the goat room that they find in season 1.
Also, might be weird, might not, but she like knocks before she tries opening it.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is kind of weird. I don't know. So they walk in, no goats. But there is this little hallway, goat-sized hallway, that is finished on drywall and shit on the inside.
It looks exactly like the other hallways on the severed floor. It's just sized for goats.
And the floor is covered in shit, goat shit, and they crawl through it. And when they get to the other side, they find themselves in this cavernous room with rolling green hills and goats.
Goats and cows, and I think there's a ram, although that might be
I think that was the dude. Yeah. So like I like how Helly seems a bit like, what the fuck? And Mark's like, oh yeah, it's a goat room. Like that's the normal thing that happens here, I guess. There is a terrifying shot of once they start walking in and like checking the goats out, this black fucking like devil goat. Like just right in frame with his fucking horns and shit, and the camera swings around and it's a guy, and you're like, what the fuck? And Okay, so first of all, this is where we are introduced to Gwendolyn Christie's character. Lauren, I think her name is.
Doesn't matter.
Gwendolyn Christie, who you might know as Brienne of Tarth from Game of Thrones or Captain Phasma,
yep.
is a brilliant character actor.
She's also like 6.5 feet tall.
I think she's taller than
Yeah, she's huge.
Yeah, she's very, very tall. And she towers over both of these actors.
And she's just standing on this ridge holding these shears like she's gonna stab
and
someone.
Says, "Are you here to kill me?" And you're like,
that's a weird way to open a
are
conversation.
you expecting someone to come into this fucking room?
Are there assassins on the severed floor?
I think this kind of plays in. You might remember that there was that piece of art that was accidentally printed in MDR that Irving finds, where it's like members of MDR with weapons, like fighting other people.
Huh.
I think that there's, I don't know, that there's some weird shit happening, but they go over to her little desk,
which is just a regular office desk in the middle of this
goat room.
Grass.
Yeah. And I like how there's like a vending machine behind her, like with snacks and shit. And she's got a big fucking lumen cowbell on her desk, and they have a little chat. So we find out that that she's called a mammalian nurturable, or I think that's what the department is.
That's the department.
Yeah,
mammalians nurturable.
Yeah, and so they ask about Miss Casey, and she rings the bell.
She's like, I think you should leave. And Mark's like,
not
until you fucking tell me about Miss Casey. And she's like, I'm going to ring this fucking bell.
So we think before this, the guy on the ram head is like the only one there. No, there are like, I don't know, 8 or 9 people. Yeah. And they all just fucking surround them.
With like pitchforks and shears and shit.
It is very weird. And I have a feeling that the people that work in this division aren't supervise as closely as like MDR is.
It's vaguely like I got vaguely Children of the
like Lord of the Flies kind of thing. Yes,
yeah.
That's exactly how I felt too. Okay, so Dylan is taken by Miss Wong to the Audi family visitation room.
I love like he's just following her through the hallways. Like, is it rude to keep asking why you're a kid?
Why you're a kid?
Like, are you here of your own will, or are they forcing you? Like, this is all just very strange.
Right. And of course, Miss Wong doesn't say a fucking word the whole time
because she's a very creepy child.
Yeah. So, Dylan gets to meet and hang out with his Audi's wife.
This entire sequence is so fucking awkward.
Bizarre. And like, first of all, one of the heartbreaking things is even though his wife will deny it, she thinks his Audi's a fuck up, and it was a little unsettling because you can tell that like any Dylan is more driven, and he's more like goal oriented, and he's really good at what he does.
Yeah, I wonder how much of that is the subconscious realization that like he's really good at this.
Yeah, like he found his.
He doesn't have a whole lot of other things that he's really good at, so that's why he's so driven to do it.
There's this kind of heartbreaking sense that maybe she likes this version of her husband more, because he seems more like on top of. He's wearing his fucking suit, and he's like more on top of shit. They talk about their kids a little bit, and she shows him a photo of the family,
like very obviously like a vacation photo or something.
Right.
He's like, damn, we live on a cattle ranch.
Yeah, the one where I think my dad and my stepmom have a picture like this where you dress up as a cowboy and a whatever and you get the picture. That was a funny line about like, do we live on a ranch? They embrace at the end. First of all, I thought it was really funny that at the beginning, it's very clear that Miss Wong is watching the whole time.
Yes,
because like
at one point, the wife uses Milchick's first name, and Miss Wong is like, we don't do that here.
Yeah, we're gonna have to skip ahead a little bit. I'm gonna speed around a couple of things. Okay. Irv goes to O&D, or O&E, whatever. And he finds that old lady that worked there, and there's this really heartwarming interaction where she gives him a really warm hug, and they sit and they talk about Bert for a while.
Bert, and Irv pulls out a sketchbook and says, see, I drew a picture of Bert every single day. It ruined my productivity, but that's a picture of the hallway. You weren't supposed to show you that.
She's like, oh, I know that.
Yeah, that's the fucking delivery hallway where
Exports hall.
Yes. We used to take shit, but now they send a guy down there.
So now we know that this is a place that other people know about. She knows how to get there.
Yeah.
I thought it was really nice. Like, this woman was very suspicious of MDR and was like looked kind of strict and cold.
Mm-hmm.
And they both very clearly miss Bert, and they have this moment together about it. And I'm like, God damn it. I'm not supposed to be feeling shit like this in this weird goat thing. Like, I don't understand how we switched to this. So back in the goat room, Gwendolyn Christie reveals that she does know Miss Casey and that she was giving wellness sessions in their husbandry tanks, which, ew. I don't think I ever want to learn more about that. But we find out that, like, a lot of the goat people there talked to Miss Casey.
They really liked her.
And they did the wellness sessions where there's like, they share a little bit of information about their outies, and like, it kind of like, I don't know, you know, it makes them feel better. Yeah. And so they all decide that, you know, Miss Casey, they're like, oh, she was actually kind of cool. Yeah. So
we haven't seen her. If we do, we'll let you know. We'll let you know, I guess.
Before you go, we'd like to see if you have pouches. I'm sorry.
Can you lift up your shirt and show us your bellies?
I'm sorry. What pouches on your stomach? Like, pull up your shirt, and they're like, you know what? Whatever.
You know what? This isn't even the weirdest thing I've done today.
Yeah. And so we've confirmed, not that we needed it, but the goat people needed it. The people from MDR don't have pouches. Yeah, now we know. So, okay, so this is crazy. This is the problem with this. I don't know which of this stuff is important, because I think it might all be. So, Audie Dillon watches the kids as his wife goes to work. She works the night shift. It was like a security gig. Guard, yeah. She asks how... He asks how her session with the innie went, and it's weird.
She's like, yeah, it was fine.
Him asking about it felt weird. Like, he was like sitting, like he was waiting to ask her about it and trying to figure out what the right time was. And I don't know, their thing is very strange. I wonder how close they are to a divorce. Here's a crazy thing. Rickon and Natalie are apparently now friends. Yeah. Who seems to have won him over with flattery.
Yes.
Which...
Rickon is a very simple person. Like, you just say, oh, I love your book, and he's your best friend.
That book, the UUR, is a real book. And you can read or listen to the audiobook on like Apple Books.
Oh, God.
Yeah. And I'm going to listen to that motherfucker the first chance I get. So they want to bring the book in for innies, but they want to change it a little bit. Like the slaves' Bible. Like, you got to cut out everything from the Bible about freedom and liberty and give it to the slaves, right? Devin, his wife, is like, what the fuck is happening?
This is really fucking weird.
But she's got her own sketchy shit to go do, so she doesn't have time. So she's like, what the fuck ever, make sure you feed the kid. Yeah. Devin and Mark are working on something that we don't know what it is. Okay, these two scenes. Cobell confronts Helena in the parking lot at night, and Helena walks over. Cobell makes a bunch of demands. She's like, I want to be back on the Severed floor.
Like, if you want me back, I need to be back on the Severed floor. Like, Mark is so close to finishing up on
Cold Harbor.
What is Cold Harbor? Why is Mark so important? We don't fucking know.
Yeah. So she's like, okay, I'm going to call the board. And she turns around and walks toward the building. She's like, let's go. Yeah. Harmony follows her. I think sees her driver.
I think that's what spooked her, yeah.
Yeah, something spooks her. And
she just turns around, goes right back to her car, drives away.
And it's the way, because everything's so dark. Like, it's dark outside. And like, Patricia Arquette is such a like seminal actor that you're just like... yeah.
Why?
Like, you see this, she's like... Am I about to get whacked? I'm not getting whacked tonight, so I'm going to turn around and go back to my car.
Yeah.
I just also realized that seminal might not have been the word I was using for, and I might be confusing that with another word. And I don't mean to say like seminal as in seminal fluid. Maybe prolific.
Okay.
Such a prolific actor. Anyway, so the whole thing was weird, right? So Mark is trying to burn words into his retinas so that when he closes his eyes, his innie sees them.
Yes.
Is it a good plan? No, it is not. And in fact, while he's he's got like a lamp right up in his eyes. And he's got like a sheet over it, and he's sitting in his car doing it.
Yeah.
And when he lifts the thing up, there's a jump scare from fucking Dr. Rigatti, who...
She's like, are you trying to burn a message to your innie into your retinas? He's like, Jesus fucking Christ.
Yeah.
She's like, because that's a really fucking stupid idea.
First of all, that's dumb. Not good for your retinas. I'm a doctor. You should listen to me. But also, how the fuck is your innie supposed to answer you? And
he's like, that is a problem for innie, Mark.
Yes. The words he's trying to burn into his retina is who is alive. because it is unclear to them when Mark screams, "She's alive," that was he talking about Gemma or was he talking about the baby, right? Yeah. And so she's like, "I've got a better idea. How about we do reintegration? And I'm better at it now." And you're like, were you not good at it before? Is that why Petey died?
Yeah, well, I mean, Petey was a little bit disturbed, right?
Well, no, she said that Petey didn't follow post-op instructions, which is why he died. And I'm thinking, maybe you made that shit up and you're just not very good at it yet. So there is this amazing moment where they're sitting in the car together, and Mark is barely even able to say it out loud. He's barely able to say it more than a whisper. Asks if Gemma is alive, and a good solid several seconds passes between them, and she says, "Yes, at least she was the last time I saw her." And you can see Mark just like goes through this range of emotions and gets out of his car and doesn't know what to do and shit. And like, I was thinking about this because like, if I was led to believe that my partner John was dead for like a couple of years and then found out that he was alive and like being held in a building somewhere, there isn't an act of violence I would not consider. I would burn the whole fucking building down. Like, there is no moral atrocity that I probably wouldn't consider to make that right. Yeah. And I feel like that whole realization kind of goes through his mind. And then, cool, like, I'm so glad they're doing it. They're probably going to do his reintegration next episode.
Nope.
No, not at all.
Chilling in his basement.
They do operation in his basement.
She's like, I got all my fucking weird electronic equipment. I'm going to attach wires to your head.
Another brilliant part of this episode. Fucking the procedure is I ask you a bunch of questions, you answer them. She explains how Severance works, how they're like, they unphase two brainwaves. And the innie lives on one, and the whatever. Is it super science?
Probably.
Yeah. She starts asking questions. He's able to answer them very easily. And all of a sudden, you're like, this is starting to sound a lot like the very first episode of the first season when Helly gets asked the questions when she wakes up, and they get to they get through some questions. It seems like Mark, as they go along, is taking a little more time to answer them. And then they start intercutting frames of him laying in his basement and him laying on the table in the severed floor. And then she asks the question, "What was your first memory?"
And like, I don't fucking know.
No, that's not true. We do know what his first memory is because he tells Helly in the first season, "My first memory was hearing Petey's voice." And then it switches. He's on the table and he hears the questions with Petey's voice. And you see on the fucking brainwave thing, they sync up and like his eyes open and the episode ends. And you're like, fucking masterful storytelling, first of all. And like, if you're gonna end on a cliffhanger, what a great fucking place to end. That whole thing with Petey and him on the table and shit, like, that's one of those moments where, like, at the end of the first season, where like the episode ends and your heart's still kind of going. You're like, I didn't realize they were going to do reintegration this soon, but there we are, third episode.
I mean, we got a lot of other mysteries to unravel. So
let's go through your friend. Anyway, go watch Severance.
Yes, it's fantastic.
Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. I'll say spoiler warning, but there isn't like a ton of stuff to spoil.
So like, Spider-Man is not my favorite Marvel character, but like,
I
feel like he's enough people's favorite Marvel character that Marvel always takes a lot of care with anything they put him in, so it always ends up being pretty good. It's
also always a weird rights thing with Sony and shit.
Yeah.
I will say that, like, I think my interest in Spider-Man starts immediately at there's a certain point in Peter Parker's life when he becomes extremely fuckable, like Tom Holland. And that's why I start to pay attention to Spider-Man very carefully, because I had a huge crush on Tom Holland. I had a huge crush on Tobey Maguire when that movie came out as well, and Andrew Garfield. All of the live-action Spider-Man actors have been hot. Like, Tobey Maguire a little less, but still. However, I appreciate that this Peter Parker is a freshman in high school, and I think makes the character better, because it's not about we get to focus on his kid stuff.
Yeah.
Right. And like no.
Like, oh, he has a crush on his babysitter.
Right. Which, by the way, a little weird. So he has to go do an orientation because he's going to a super smart kids like
so
school.
He shows up and there's a portal in the sky and this fucking weird venom creature falls out.
Which, by the way, we get Doctor Strange.
Yeah, Doctor Strange shows up and starts fighting him. He's like, wait a minute, you're Peter Parker. Shit, I really shouldn't be here.
Yeah, right.
Which I really like the idea that Doctor Strange, or some version of Doctor Strange, is just going through the multiverse, fucking things up and inadvertently creating
walks through, sees Peter Parker and is like,
nope, not doing that here.
However, a little spider falls through, bites him on the neck, and he passes out. And then they yada his transformation.
Yeah.
They're like, you don't need to see that.
You don't need to see. It's Spider-Man.
Yeah, here's a couple months later, and he's already got his like proto suit. Yeah. He's already developed his like web launchers and shit. And it's we go through a lot of
his new friend Nico Minoru.
Yes, who I think likes him, and he doesn't get it. He doesn't realize it.
Well, I think she also likes
the other girl. I think so. Okay,
which makes sense because in the comics that character is bi.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Here's some really bizarre shit we have to talk about with this show. The actor that plays the voice actor that does Spider-Man, something Timms or Thames, I don't know. In an interview like last week was like, oh, I was actually really pleasantly surprised with how it turned out because I was afraid that it was going to be woke and stupid. Which on its face is a dumb thing to say anyway, right? But second of all, did you not read the script? Because let me tell you, I'm pretty sure that all the people that would be really, it's woke, aren't going to like this show because there are a lot of black people in it.
Yep.
There's a lot of diversity in the cast.
Yeah.
There's very clearly at least a bi character, and it's just such a boneheadedly stupid fucking thing to say. And if it were up to me, and if I were at Marvel or Sony or whoever how the fuck this works,
pretty sure it's Marvel,
I'd be finding a different fucking voice actor because it's just a monumentally stupid fucking thing to say. The weird thing was that the showrunner said, I heard what he said. I'm pretty sure he misspoke. It's like, what other thing could he have meant with those words in that order?
Yeah,
I'm not so sure about that. Now, if it's true and he did misspeak, then
fair.
My bad, right? But the guy stop bitching about things being woke. It just doesn't make sense. Like that word, the right
word
has
no
used
longer
it.
means
Yeah, they've used it so much to describe everything they don't like that it just doesn't make sense anymore, and it's just stupid. So anyway, there is a shot for shot recreation of a moment in Spider-Man, Tom Holland's Spider-Man, where he walks in and notices that Tony Stark is sitting on the couch with his like about to fuck Aunt May, I think.
Yeah.
So
this time it's Norman Osborn.
Yeah.
Which, would you trust a man with Norman Osborn's haircut?
No,
I would not trust a man with Norman Osborn's haircut.
You know what's weirder than that is that he's modeled off of those old Spider-Man comics. That's what he looks like, except that he's white and has that haircut, which I think is weirder because I think they're like kind of cornrow kind of things.
It's something.
Yeah.
But like,
which is another thing you think is woke or whatever is that they've switched a lot of characters around. Norman and Harry Osborn are black. Dr. Connors is a female. And so that's going to be a problem, I'm sure, to a lot of people. Anyway, he gets an internship at Oscorp instead of Stark Industries. And he gets assigned with Dr. Connors with her one fucking arm.
Yep. One of his fellow interns is Amadeus Cho, who in the comics is another Hulk.
Every one of those of his fellows are different characters in the Spider-Verse somewhere. So everything ends with he sees a crime being done on TV while he's doing his internship.
So he fucking steps in the staircase, suits up, swings out, beats up the butane guy.
Butane, right, yeah. So the problem with this is that apparently Norman Osborn has cameras everywhere and saw it, calls him into the office and was like, you're Spider-Man, here's the video. And he's like, oh, well, fuck.
Goddamn it.
And that's the end of the episode.
So where's this going to go? We don't know yet.
I have first two episodes, I'm thoroughly enjoying it. I think it's a lot of fun. I'm definitely going to be watching